Hello. I'm Dr. Pettis. It's Sunday morning. You caught me packing my grinds. But I'm glad you're here because I'd wanted to continue about the autonomic nervous system and talk about the parasympathetic nervous system, perhaps here in the kitchen. As they always say, rest and digest. Oh, are we recording already? I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize we were recording already. Well, let's continue with the craniosacral nervous system, also called the parasympathetic nervous system, in blue in this figure. Now, we know why this red one was called thoracolumbar, but why is the blue one called craniosacral? Well, because the first neurons are either found associated with cranial nerves or nerves from the sacral spinal cord. So we have cranial nerves, 3, 7, 9, and 10, contributing to the parasympathetic nervous system. And then for the lower digestive, the urinary, and the reproductive systems, we have parasympathetic from S2, 3, and 4, which are collectively called the pelvic splanchnic nerves. Now, eventually we're going to know all of these cranial nerves and we're going to know them well, but for right now, the most important one, since this first section of the class is about the trunk, we'll be looking at the thorax, the abdomen, and the pelvis. We're going to be focused on cranial nerve number 10, the vagus nerve, the Mac Daddy of the parasympathetic nerves. And if we follow it, you can see how it goes down through the body here and has extensions off to all kinds of organs that are vital for your survival, the heart, the lungs, your digestive organs, and so on. Now, if we see the first neuron here in the central nervous system projects its axon out into the periphery via this cranial nerve, where is the second neuron with its dotted line axon? If we see in the parasympathetic nervous system here, the second neuron, or the postganglionic neuron, is found either in the wall of or right next to the target organ. Thus, the very short axons in the postganglionic, associated with the postganglionic neuron. So here's neuron number 1. It has its long, the nerve itself is very long, branches all over the place, to a ganglion in the wall of this organ. Second neuron, second axon, just a short little bit to the organ that it is in. So that's nice. If that was all of the parasympathetic nervous system, we'd be done. But we're not done because there's more. So if we look at, in a little while, you're going to know the digestive system really well. But when we're toward the end of it, when things are about to come out the other end, we get to the large intestine. And we have an ascending, a transverse, a descending, and then a sigmoid colon that come on over to the rectum and the anus where things come out. I point this out right now only so that you'll understand there's a point, when we go from mouth to anus, if we're progressing along a path from mouth to anus, there comes a point where we transition from the vagus nerve to these pelvic splanchnics. So you can see it's right about here where we have that corner that can be called the splenic flexure of the colon here. So this would be the patient facing you. This would be the left side of the patient's body, like right about at the rib cage. And then as we descend and go to the rectum and the anus, we have input from the pelvic splanchnic nerves. Well, it's the same thing here with the urinary bladder and with reproductive organs. They are innervated by parasympathetic nerves from the sacral spinal cord, the pelvic splanchnics. Now, when you look at this, that's pretty simple so far. I like the simplicity. We just have a neuron, we follow it all the way to the organ. But don't forget, there are still 2 neurons, preganglionic in the central nervous system, postganglionic in a ganglion that is in or right next to the target organ. You can see this with all of these. So you'll see a round cell body and a dotted line for the second axon. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for the autonomic nervous system. having already done the sympathetic nervous system, I think the parasympathetic comes relatively easily. Now, for the second exam period, we'll be doing head and neck, and then we'll get into these cranial nerves 3, 7, and 9 more extensively. But I don't think we're not going to mention much about those for the first exam period here. I'm not sure. 9 could possibly creep in there. Possibly 7 when we talk about some salivary glands, if we talk about digestion. But really, 10 is where we can focus for right now. And come back to this material and describe a pathway. Just choose a beginning. So my mouse is not working again. I'm trying to illustrate. Choose a beginning and an end and describe this. Preganglionic neuron, preganglionic axon, going down here to the ganglion where we found the postganglionic neuron and the postganglionic axon. Now I might want to do that all over again and use the word parasympathetic. Preganglionic parasympathetic neuron, preganglionic parasympathetic axon as soon as my mouse works. There we go. Write it on down here to the postganglionic parasympathetic neuron and the postganglionic parasympathetic axon. Now say that 5 times fast. And have a good day. I'll see you in class tomorrow.